Hello and welcome to Little Q's Big Connections. My name is Sana and I am a speech and language therapist working with children with complex communication. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today we'll hopefully explore early communication skills, which will include what communication is, methods of communication, why we communicate, as well as some strategies to support your child's ongoing communication development. The Preschool Complex Communication Team are a team of speech and language therapists and assistants working with children who present with complex speech, language, and communication needs. We work with parents and adults who work with your child on a regular basis. We help support children with their communication needs that are significantly impacting their daily lives. Your child might also be known to other professionals. So we complete assessments to support your child's communication development. We then put together a program of specific activities and advice and strategies tailored to your child's needs. We support those working closely with your child to implement these strategies throughout the day. We then review your child's progress at agreed timescales. So the first part of the webinar is going to focus on communication. Before we go any further, I'd like you to think about how your child communicates. Please feel free to pause the video and have a little think about this. Children use a variety of ways to express their wants and needs. When they are frustrated, they might scream. When they feel discomfort, they might cry. When they want to guide you to what they want, they might pull you or they might point. So I'm just going to ask a couple of questions, and again, feel free to pause the video to have a little think about it. How do you know when your child is upset, when your child is happy, and when your child wants something? When your child is upset, they might frown, they might cry, they might scream, they might kick. Some children might throw an object, become withdrawn by avoiding eye contact. Some children, when they are happy, they'll smile, they'll laugh, they might clap, they might continue to engage with the activity, they might vocalize. When some children want something, they might point, they might reach, they might guide you to the item, they might use words. Now let's have a look at what communication actually is. It is the process of exchanging information, ideas, needs, and emotions. Before a child is even born, they are getting ready to communicate. It is not just limited to speech. It includes both verbal and non-verbal forms. Remember that 93% of communication is non-verbal and 7% is verbal. This means that even before a child speaks, they are already communicating through a variety of methods. And as parents, you are naturally reading those cues daily. Think about when your child is upset. Do you rely more on their words or their body language? By tuning in and understanding how they communicate, you can help them feel understood. Now let's explore different ways we communicate in our day-to-day life. We might use our facial expressions. We might frown when we are angry. We might smile when we are happy. We might raise an eyebrow when we are surprised. We might use a high-pitched tone when we are excited. I'm fine said in a flat tone versus I'm fine said in a more enthusiastic tone can change the meaning. Even though you're saying you're fine, but if you've said that in a flat tone, people might then think that you're not actually fine. Eye contact. Some people say that in a job interview, if you maintain eye contact, it shows confidence. And if you avoid eye contact, it could mean nervousness. Gestures, you might put a thumbs up if you're approving something or wave to say goodbye. If you pat someone on the back, you might, encourage them, or you might hug someone to comfort someone, and that's communicating via touch. You might see a road sign, for example, this one, we can interpret that as stop, and this one as a restroom. You might use objects of references, postures, for example, I might slouch when I'm tired. You might use signs, words, or writing as well. We communicate for many reasons, and some include expressing our needs and wants, for example, ordering food, sharing information by telling a story or explaining something, expressing our feelings or emotions, getting someone's attention by waving or calling someone's name, providing consent by saying yes or no, or simply just nodding, making choices, choosing where you want to go, what you want to eat, requesting for help, asking for directions, for example, asking and answering questions as well as seeking clarification, refusing by saying no or shaking your head, developing relationships by laughing or engaging in conversation. Communication is essential, but sometimes there are barriers that can make it challenging for us to express ourselves and understand others. By recognizing these barriers, it allows us more effective communication. Let's have a look at some of the different barriers. Physical barriers. So someone might not be able to move their body or to point or gesture. There might be sensory barriers, for example, challenges hearing spoken language, emotional barriers, and psychological barriers. For example, someone with anxiety might avoid communication in certain settings. Language barriers, a child might not have enough vocabulary to express their needs. Um, and equally, if the child is exposed to another language, they might not have the words in the other language. Environmental barriers, for example, a crowded, noisy environment can make it more challenging for a child to focus. Unfamiliar settings may also lead to your child being more reluctant to engage or communicate. Cultural barriers, for example, there are sometimes difference in expectations. Some cultures encourage more direct communication, but others might prefer more indirect communication. Just like a tree needs strong roots to grow, communication builds on early skills and develops over time. Every part of this tree represents a key area of communication. Let's start off with the roots. These are the early skills required for communication: listening, paying attention to words, sounds, shared attention, engaging with others and focusing on the same activities, play, learning through exploration and interacting. We then move on to the trunk. Before a child can express themselves, they may first understand what is being communicated to them. This includes following instructions, making sense of interactions. We then move to the branches. As understanding develops, expressive communication develops. We have stimulation, which represents support and encouragement needed to help the child develop their communication skills by reading to them, by playing, by singing, by repetition, acknowledging their methods of communication. We also have opportunities to communicate. So everyday chances your child has to practice to develop these skills. Just like how sunlight helps trees grow, a rich communication environment helps children flourish, allowing them time to respond instead of answering for them, using choices, expanding what they say. Parent-child interaction is crucial at every level of the communication tree. You are your child's first and most important teachers. The way you communicate with your child daily shapes how they learn to express themselves, understand others, and build relationships. You know your child best. Tune in, respond, create opportunities for them to communicate. Every conversation, every game, every cuddle is a chance to build their communication skills. The more you talk, play, and interact, the stronger their language skills will grow. Now let's have a look at some strategies. So the first strategy we're going to have a look at is watching and waiting. Carefully watch your child's actions, their expressions, body language, and how they attempt to communicate. What is your child focused on? Use that as an opportunity to engage in communication. Acknowledge any form of communication, whether it's verbal or non-verbal. It's important that you show your child that you understand and that their communication is valued while encouraging them to continue to communicate. Pause and allow your child time to initiate communication or respond. It can be challenging, but it allows them extra time to process. Try and avoid asking too many questions and allow them opportunities to lead. One of the most powerful things you can do to support your child's communication is to simply watch and wait. This reduces pressure for the child to perform, and it supports natural and meaningful communication opportunities. It also allows you both to build relationships and trust between each other. They may initially choose to explore an activity alone, so allow them that time to explore and settle in. This will then allow you to adapt to match their timing to join in. Children learn to communicate by watching and copying those around them. By mirroring your child's actions, sounds, expressions, or words, you are showing them that communication is a two-way process, which can encourage them to continue engaging. It helps build trust and makes them feel understood. They start to see that their actions have meanings, and you are essentially telling them that you see them, hear them, and that what they are doing matters. When you mirror them consistently, they begin to look at you more for interaction. They check in with you more often and feel more connected. I'm going to discuss a few examples now. So if your child waves, you wave back at them. If they tap a toy, you tap a toy. If they make a sound, you repeat it back to them. If they frown, mirror that expression. Show them that you understand. Positioning plays a crucial role in helping children feel comfortable, engaged, and ready to communicate. The way you position yourself can either support or hinder their ability to interact with you. It's important that you are positioning yourself at your child's level, as this will show them that you are interested and involved in their play. They can see that you're focused on them and their chosen activity. It makes it easier to observe their verbal and nonverbal communication methods as well. You can better see and understand how they are communicating. Notice how they are using their facial expressions or body language. For example, if they look at a toy, then look at you, this might be their way of asking for help. Being positioned at this level allows you to catch these subtle signs that you might have missed. Make sure you are aware of not being too close to them as well, so that they don't feel too overwhelmed or that there's an expectation for them to do something. Some children may withdraw if they feel there's an expectation to respond. This can be completed by sitting next to them, lying down next to them. If they move, you should also follow when they are ready. Making choices is a powerful strategy to support early communication. It involves allowing your child to choose an activity that interests them and lead play. You will observe and then join in with their chosen activity when they are ready. It helps establish mutual shared attention as you are both focused on the same thing that your child has selected. At snack time, you may offer a choice of two snacks, for example, an apple and a strawberry. Emphasize the words, hold up both items and see if they make a choice either by looking, pointing, saying the word, reaching. You may offer a choice of two items where one item is one they dislike. For example, if your child dislikes bananas, this may encourage them to make a choice by recognizing that they don't want to eat the alternative item. High-interest toys are toys that naturally grab the child's attention and encourage them to engage. There might be sensory toys that they particularly enjoy, for example, fidget toys, squishy toys, light-up toys, cause and effect toys, for example, push and pop toys, ball towers, musical toys. This is where the child's action results in something fun happening. Building and construction toys, for example, shape sorters, blocks, magnetic tiles, motion-based toys like pullback cars, spinning toys, train tracks, and so on. Ready, Steady, Go games are a fantastic way to support anticipation skills. It helps children learn to wait and predict what comes next. It allows them to pay attention to cues, teaches them cause and effect, that their response leads to an exciting outcome. It builds excitement and engagement and supports early language development, recognizing words and patterns. Let's use the example of bubbles. Hold the bubble wand up and get their attention. Say ready, steady, and pause. Look at your child with an expectant expression. Wait for them to look at you, make a sound, reach, say a word, point to a visual before saying go while blowing the bubbles. What's in the bag is where you gather familiar objects or toys that your child is likely to recognize, place them in either a bag or a box, pull out an object and label the item. Think about any noises or actions associated with the item. For example, if you pulled out an animal, think about the different animal sounds. Let your child explore the object and toy before moving on to the next one. Social routines and songs are repetitive, predictable activities. Your child is hearing the same words over and over again, which helps them process language. Daily routines provide structured opportunities for repetitive language. For example, socks on, socks off, wash hands. Nursery rhymes also help with this. For example, Old MacDonald's. It helps a child with the imitation of sounds and being able to recognize the different animals. Instead of asking your child questions, you might make comments on their play. For example, instead of asking, "What colour is that?" whilst playing a car game, you might label it and say "red car" instead. This reduces pressure and creates opportunities for them to join in. It also helps build vocabulary and makes language processing easier for them. For bubbles, what could we say? We could say pop, go, mo. If we were engaging in a Play-Doh activity, we might say squish, roll, mo, making sure to keep the language very simple at their level. Short descriptions of what your child is doing. It's better to comment than ask questions. And if you ever find yourself asking questions, don't worry, just turn it into a comment. So instead of saying, "What's that?" you might then label the item. It is important that your language matches your child's level, that you keep your language simple. Language can be complicated, so make it easier for your child by picking out the important words in the sentence. We can do this by using a similar number of words your child uses. Break down the instructions so they are receiving one piece of information at a time. So instead of saying something like, "Come on, we need to hurry up, we need to go to nursery, go get your coat and your shoes," what can you say instead? You might just say coat on, you might say shoes. Matching is when you repeat what your child has said so that they feel heard or understood. Adding is when you expand their communication by adding one more word. It supports language development by encouraging children to use more words in a more natural way. For example, if your child says ball, what might you say? You might say red ball to expand. They need to hear the words multiple times prior to understanding and using them. You can help them learn how to put words together and what new words mean. It builds confidence and engagement too. If your child is not talking yet, you can comment when they point to something or take you somewhere. For example, if they point to a bottle, you might say water. Choose an activity that lends itself to taking turns and that your child enjoys. For example, blowing bubbles, posting items in a post box, rolling a ball, pushing cars, building towers, putting pieces in a jigsaw. Keep the turns short to keep your child engaged. When your child appears to be beginning to lose interest, encourage them to wait for one more turn. Make sure you use repetitive language, for example, my turn, one more turn, wait, and so on. Initially do this for a few seconds and gradually build the time up. Use a physical object or visual to represent my turn and your turn. Now we're just going to go through a few terms that you might hear throughout your journey with us. Joint attention is where two people are focused on the same thing at the same time and are aware that they are sharing that experience together. For example, if you and your child are looking at a toy together. You may come across the term intensive interaction. This is an approach to interacting and teaching early communication skills, the fundamentals of communication. Essentially, the child is leading and the adult is responding. The adult is observing, waiting, listening. You're responding to your child's behavior through observation, through copying them, echoing them. You're looking for any reactions. any non-verbal cues. Be ready to go where your child goes and interact on the move. You may come across the term total communication approach. This is communicating by whatever means possible. It could include a combination of the following: natural gestures, speech, pitch, tone of voice, signs, symbols, real objects, pictures, and photos. It supports a child's understanding and expression, and it's nothing new. We use it throughout our lives. Let's think about the example stop. How can this message be conveyed? Well, we can verbally say the word stop. We can use a gesture. We can use a facial expression. We can look at a road sign and know to stop. When we see a red traffic light, we know that that means stop. Objects of references is using objects as a way of communicating in various environments. Real objects that represent specific activities, people, places, or concepts. It supports your child's understanding by providing real and concrete experiences. We also have aided language stimulation, which is a way of communicating. It consists of a communication partner teaching the meaning of the symbols and modeling the language without any expectation. We also have Sign Along, which is based on British Sign Language. It helps improve communication skills by providing an additional visual cue when used alongside a spoken word. It supports understanding of language. It also reduces frustration and increases intelligibility. You might come across the terms information carrying words and keyword level. These are the important words in a sentence that carry meaning and are essential to carry out an instruction appropriately. Show me the ball is an example of an instruction with one information carrying word, and that information carrying word is ball. Show me the red ball is an example of two information carrying words, as we don't just want a ball, we want the red ball specifically. I'm going to discuss a few general advice and strategies, starting off with a now and next board. A now and next board is a type of visual schedule that can be used to support a child to know what is expected of them. It can help create structure when completing an activity during a time where there is typically less structure. It can support a child during transitions and help them to know what is about to happen. A working towards chart is a visual reinforcement system. When the child completes an activity, they receive a star or a tick. After receiving all the stars, they then receive their reward, which was established beforehand, for example, bubbles. A start and finish box usually consists of a green and a red box. The activities that you want the child to complete will be placed in the green box, and the child will then choose what activity to start with. Upon completion of the activity, they will then place it in the red box. Transitions occur when moving from activity to activity or place to place. This can be challenging for some children. The traffic light system helps to prepare children for a transition or that an activity is about to finish. Sand timers are a visual way to help a child understand how long an activity will last. Visual timetables are used to help our children learn, understand, and remember daily routines and events in the same way that we might use a calendar. For the child who struggles with understanding verbal information, the use of a visual system might be easier to follow. Bilingualism is when a person is exposed to or speaks two or more languages. It is important that you keep using your home language with your child, because the child develops stronger English skills if they continue to use and develop their home language. When a child learns about something in their home language, it allows them to learn things in their second language more easily. It supports your child to communicate easily with other family members and the community as well. In terms of the next steps, your child will complete an initial assessment with one of our preschool therapists. During this session, the therapist will assess and observe your child as well as gather information from yourselves. Tailored advice and strategies will then be provided to support your child's ongoing speech, language, and communication development. A program or intervention will then be delivered to nursery or home to further support your child. To finish, we've added a signposting slider with some useful resources as well as QR codes that can be scanned for more information on intensive interaction, early language strategies, shared attention strategies, and visual support. Thank you so much for joining Little Q's Big Connections today. I hope this session has been useful and that it has given you confidence to support your child's communication.